Heyo, it's your favorite N-word, Terrence Prescott Barnes. This time, I'm going to talk about the characters of the Order of Justice, Generation Zoo, of the Crimson Collective. These are 7 characters of a generation of the Order of Justice that is, in the current day, the youngest group. Sometimes they have like 4 groups active at a time, but the story where it takes place now, there's an older group and a younger group, and the younger group is 35 years old, and it would be Zippery, Ohhh, Izizle, Swole, Gamble, Nourishna, and Vissile. It took me forever to get them names right? But anyway, I want to give a special shout out to Giante Godlock, Jamie Chung, Brian Greenberg, Godwin D'Amato, and Mackenzie Tamianis. And let's get into it. All members of the Order of Justice, Generation Zoo. There are 8 other members. They are considered a decade and a half older than our members, meaning they are of the preceding generation of the Order of Justice. Our 7 came in at the same time, and the rest of their team is in one of the dimensions on a crucial mission when the alien invasion starts. To clear up the amount of people that work for the Order of Justice, there are 2 clear generations, one made of 8 members, the other made up of 7. This 15. And the reason why I have it set up like that is because they are on the front lines. They have their whole superhero legion that do the things in the background, like reading radars, reading distress signals, surveying the fights, repairing weapons, the medics and things like that. Well, moving along, there are 26 other members that act like support are being trained to become members and are of various different ages. Zippery is the captain and O is the co-captain of Generation Zoo. The preceding group of frontliners are called Generation Sarita. Generation Zoo met in their freshman year of the Black Spear Academy. Generation Zoo became their name because of how they were grouped together. In the Black Spear Academy, there's a dean of Arrow named Champion Blackblade. She has a long history of superheroism that is most described as, "It's the woman with the longest black sword of the universe. Do not unguard against her." Her day job is tending to the many kids that gain admission to this all-star high school. Other times, she is being summoned by various board directors that tend to distress signals. Makes no waste with handling baddies around the universe, but let's take it back a little. Head Dean of Arrow of the Black Spear Academy, Champion Blackblade. Met all of the kids when she was 35 years of age. Of Senegalese descent. So many people call her so many things, but she is mostly called Blackblade. Champion was added to it after acquiring the Untouching, which is one-woman army status. By the time she was 30 years of age, she got to where she wanted to be in life. After acquiring the ability to run across the battlefield at any time because of her thoroughness, it made it easier to find a meaningful job outside of her alter ego. She had so much experience under her belt, and Sword of the Universe wielders tend to work with every superpower by the time they are 30. Her extensive knowledge of experiencing it all on a battlefield made her better suited for a Dean of Arrow position. Only took her 5 years to become the head Dean of Arrow at one of the most prolific high schools of planet Nafisi. Internationally known, kept her wits in the upper echelon at all times, and she desperately needed it, because when she put the Order of Justice, Generation Zoo together, she didn't know she was going to make history. Nowadays, she's the principal of the Black Spear Academy. First of Generation Zoo, Zippery, 13 years of age, of African descent, hails from the house of Leonidas. Her family is known to help with weather control around all planets and dimensions. Makes life a whole lot more enjoyable, especially since they can alter a planet's natural course of nature. Gods and goddesses they be with handling weather. Zippery knows the fruits of doing it because she has benefited from it her entire childhood. Learning that the more you help, the more you'll have a free life. Millions of people thank the House of Leonidas on a regular. Millions. She plans on building a life to protect those millions from harsh weather conditions, as well as making sure everyone grows up in a 4-season, a year life. Outside of training her life away, she's great for a bad time. Partying is never lost upon her, even though heroism is her main goal. Captain of the Order of Justice. Second of Generation Zoo. Ohhh. 13. Of Korean descent. Hails from the House of Chung. Her family tends to head in the direction of diplomacy and human rights. She wanted a life of brawn. Been training to help hero kind throughout the Sea of Stars since she was yay tall. Obsessed with knowing that eventually she'll be a copycat super being. X, as a superpower, allows the absorption, then the control of any element of a victim she copies. Primary, secondary, tertiary, and non-elemental. Been surviving just so she can hit puberty and become the warrior she has always wanted. When she realized the friend group she was placed into had elements that could very well define an actual superhero league to be, she rejoiced. Simply rejoiced and counted every single blessing that led her to that point in life. Co-captain of the Order of Justice. Third of Generation Zoo. Izizle. 13. Of Oriental descent. Hails from the House of Ohhh. Her family tends to head in the direction of music. From raising heaven with film soundtracks to instrument making to the design of music to I'm gonna make everyone in this club put their pussy on the floor. Lovely history of contributing art to the masses, but her? Nah. She wanted to bust heads wide open for a living. Yet, she gets her kindness from her predecessors. That kindness led her to a perfect scenario. She gained perfect invisibility and been perfect with it since. Sometimes getting on her relatives' nerves every now and then, but more so that her might training becomes perfect one-hitter quitters when she takes off the invisibility. Been happily training to be an assassin type since she was yay tall. She's the surveyor, reinforcement, in the eyes of the Order of Justice. Fourth of Generation Zoo. Swole. 13. Of Jewish descent. Hails from the House of Greenberg. Been a mighty lad his entire life leading up to his 13th year. Trying to get like his bulky, men's health cover of a magazine. Can't stay out of strongman competitions. Muscles made out of overhead universalist fodder. Was trying so hard. So fucking hard. But you wouldn't laugh at him, cause his uppercuts would gone your sense of humor to never return. Had majority of his peers beat in arm wrestling, and the other few would never give him the satisfaction of even attempting to beat him. Good times all around, for the sake of justice. Following in his predecessor's shoulder rams is all he looks forward to. One-man army hero for the Order of Justice. Fifth of Generation Zoo. Gamble. 13. Of Ghanaian descent. Hails from the keepers of Neo-Husk. A family that has the honor of keeping a legendary spirit line bound to their bloodline. Neo-Husk used to guard humanity back in time period 2700. A lion titaness wielder who always pushed the limits of humanoid strength probability. Bending spaceships as if they were paperclips was always an interesting thing to see. He didn't want that might to die with him, but he wasn't about to lend that might to just anyone. When he met a baby Gamble, he saw how powerful he would become without him, then decided to make that worse. Now this young lad is enjoying the fact that his combo game doesn't need any kind of superpowers to uplift it. Knuckle sandwiches are already good enough to be paired with chefs on reality competition shows. It's in how he be playing too much, in the form of eating poison regardless of which hand you choose to take food from. One-man army hero and healer for the Order of Justice. Sixth of Generation Zoo. Nourishna. 13. Of Norwegian descent. Hails from the House of Songpunk. Her family is another musically inclined bloodline. Mostly with the DJs, the writing, the composing, the studio times to the stadium times. You will pump their songs. All Nourishna thought about when she first tapped into her powers was a song to create an original plant. 7 years old with a master plan to ensure she has a career in superheroism. The younger a vegetation wither is, the higher their chances are of touching origin plants. Because she made up a song and sung it well enough for the ancients, the Rajiuk created a door out of plant life. It whispered her name 1,000 times every 5 seconds, ever so softly but ever so luring to give her her gift. Long story short, in her Woodian form, she isn't bark, so she tells people to bite her to get them the might of the ancients. So bite her for your ultimacy's sake. One woman army shiro and healer for the order of justice. 7th of Generation Zoo. Vissile, 13, of Armenian descent, hails from the house of Izizle. He was always out looking for answers. His notebook was heavy by the time he was 6, in hopes of catching as many elements into his armada as possible. Because he started out so young, trying to live up to his father's standards of projectile mastery times the infinity, he would get there before he turned 19. In his downtime, he's right there at every strength training with his family, talking about, keep up. He had fun ultimately, living up to his first name, but when he hit puberty, the first thing he did was take a flight, via summoning a giant-ass missile and riding it up into the atmosphere so he could simply recline on it and look up. All the power he ever wanted was his from then on out. One-man army hero for the order of justice. 7 multi-generational super beings that come from widely prosperous and known families that always help out humanity. Their first turn was high school. That opportunity never left them, as the superhero league was basically created the day they were put together. The odd thing about that was, only Ohhh and Izizle knew each other. Best friends from preschool. And yes, it's rare when 2 high-class super beings grow up together. Nothing changed but adding 5 more best friends to their lives. All of the cadets of the Black Spear Academy Year Zoo were standing in their power uniforms, awaiting the first group pairings of their class. It was an exciting moment for so many transfer students from around planet Nafisi. 1,000 new students were in a perfect square, just waiting for the big color reveal after the speech. They all looked at their gloves to see the golden shimmer across the accent area. An array of colors then shined across the field, but our 7 were the only 7 in the gold area. They all got there at separate times, just smiling, waiting to see who the others were going to be, but there wasn't a lot of them. They all shrugged when it was just them, then all high-fived one another with faces of glee. Champion Black Blade was the main faculty member that looked over pairings, oversaw so many combinations and so many individuals. But these 7 were the individuals to her to the point they had to make a gold section, one that hasn't been made for a good 17 years. That meant a whole lot of eyes would be on them, but with the way they were already treating their lives, it was nothing to them. Being strong was first nature for the strong, but the 7 individual leaders led a class like no group of cadets ever have. Yet, Champion Black Blade was always facepalming, from freshman year to senior year. She had to live with that choice. She didn't see any of it coming, how perfect of a group she made, not knowing that these 7 leaders love, and I mean absolutely fucking love, to party, eat, hike, fly, do puzzles, train in simulators twice a day, or practice in senior level gymnastics regarding other fellows being meat factories, be around each other, keep their class hype, keep the campus hype, constantly trying to hit up the bulletin boards because they were fortunately put together, and hugs for good measure. Even after Champion Black Blade would scold them for getting in trouble, even after the strength training she forced on them. But you gotta give us one. She was sweaty half of the time. Yet, Generation Zoo did one thing for her and made her feel like her entire life was worth it and continued to be worth it after they graduated. They all told her she was their second mother and thanked her so fucking heavily for pairing them together 4 years ago. Continues to honor her teachings as they practice superheroism so well that the Order of Justice felt like they had to have them. Since their 7 superpower combinations were as vivid as theirs, the selling point was in how Champion Black Blade asked them to break bread with her. The preceding generation didn't see a problem with that. Before that meal started in front of a mural of Generation Zoo, high up on a prosperous building, she asked the Order of Justice, "Soaking a view. Look at them real good. Don't they look real good? Don't they look like heroes?" They do not know that this mural exists, but they have looked like this mural their entire life. Hire them. After graduating college and acquiring their first degree, they were hired and signed to the Order of Justice at the age of 24. Have been constantly on the battlefield and helping people since. You guessed right. They have partied in most sectors of the universe. They have their large number of friends and places they are forever welcome to. And deep down, they still contributed all to champion Black Blade. She told them when they were 17 before the 7 of them walked across the stage to get their diplomas. Y'all just happen to be in the right place at the right time. So put your hands on top of mine. I don't want to look at you guys like work. You all are a beacon for the right side of humanity. I can't express how much that means to me or to your parents. There won't be anyone telling you how to live your life at all anymore. But remember your motherfucking hearts, because the 7 of yours will be a beacon for humanity. On 3, walk with your heads the Most High and receive your valedictorians with grace, the ultimate grace. 1, 2, 3. Now that I have some extra time, I want to talk about something. The person that I talk about, the Crimson Collective, with the most is my husband, and he knows all of this information that he can't put together because the story is still in my head. But he liked the idea that majority of the characters in the story are around 35 years old, which means there's no character development centering around growing pains. These are all adults that know what they are doing, do it beyond exceptionally perfect, plus the villains, and they are super beings that come from generations that have, not generations, but bloodlines that have existed for 500 years or so. And they have a lot of knowledge. They have a lot of built-in genetic knowledge, that just graces the ability of using superpowers. And he really likes that because, the story can be more action-based, less dialogue. You see a whole lot of superpowers. You see them using everything they motherfucking got. And that's the way that I plan on writing the Crimson Collective and showing it in a comic book form and the animation form. The biggest fruit with making super beings that exist in a world where being super is the norm is there's not any room for a storyline that centers around segregation, bigotry, racism, bias, all of this stuff. There's no room for that. And I personally like it that way because fiction should be deemed as a means of, total escapism, because fiction is not based on real life. Granted, there are humanoids and whatnot, but at the same time, fiction, fantasy, non-realism should not hold any kind of qualities of real life and the real humanity and whatnot. I don't like this stuff, so I'm keep it as total escape as possible, because when these people use their superpowers, it's a feel-good sensation that brings pleasure. And I want my writing to instill that you need to get your pleasure without harming anybody in the process. And in the most case, when these people feel their superpowers, it's like on Ronin Warriors and Sailor Moon when they get geared up and you see them animations every fucking episode, which is fucking unnecessary. But that whole transforming and going into your superpowers thing, these kids, they grow up knowing good and well that when they hit 13, they are going to have full access to their powers. So they bide their time. They survive their time. They adventure their time, and they just get as much under their belt as possible with trying to break into their superpowers before puberty. And in a lot of cases in this story, a lot of the characters have done it. And I like doing it because the whole doing history on the characters and doing their characterization sheets and coming up with how they manifested their alter ego, how they manifest using their superpowers and things like that. I love that process of making love out of nothing at all. And when I was originally making up the Crimson Collective, all of these characters were going to be 35 or up, because at the time I was coming up on 35 and I already used 36 as a focal point on a lot of things when it comes up to making up these stories, because 36 is the least amount of characters that I have in a story. But 35 at the time when I made the story official, I decided to make majority of the characters 35 years old. Just because they will be old enough to not have to deal with character development, but young enough so that the general consensus of the most powerful super beings are around 30 to 40 years old. That's when they are in their primes. So everybody, most of the characters in the story are in their primes. You have some people like Killif and Bumbo who are like 27 years old, the youngest characters. And then you have, Bumper, who is actually, I think Bumper is 777 years old. And the 5 guys that hold up the peace treaty of Edgemere are 1,000, maybe 200 and something years old. Prayed Up is pretty much old too, because, he's a god immortal and he goes in these sleeps and he's a historian and things like that. But, he'll wake up out of his slumber and go and do his, travel around thing, which is traveling around Edgemere. And then he get his duties to go and record history in the real world for the, history books of Edgemere, because Edgemere has existed way longer than just this universe of Crimson Collective, because Edgemere connects themselves to humanoid based universes, and they stay with that humanoid species until they die out, or whatever species they connect to. The people of Edgemere will look like the intelligent species from that universe. So in this case, Edgemere has been around for plenty millennia, because they were discovered in 21st century, and they look like humans for now. In all reality, Edgemere, everybody in Edgemere is a wisp, basically. But being connected to the Crimson Collective's universe, they all look like humans. But let me stop rambling, because I filled up the extra time, and I hope you like the story about the Order of Justice. All of them come from very pristine, powerful families that practice heroism and contribute to all of the worlds around the humanoid sphere. Zippery and her family, they all exist on all of the planets. They go around and make sure that the 4 seasons are seen across every inch of the planet. And that takes a lot of might, because, Mother Nature still exists in Imagination Land, and they still have to work against Mother Nature, and any super being has the possibility of developing themselves to be stronger than Mother Nature, which is a god. In a lot of cases, in a lot of my stories, majority of the characters, all of the main characters are a step away from being a god, because I believe in making overpowered messes, and I live it. Everybody in the Order of Justice is a one-man army or a one-woman army, and they do these ridiculous things. Like I was talking about Nourishna last night and how her powers came to be, explaining it to the husband, and how her superpower was first vegetation, and then it turned into vegetation ray because of how she connected to an origin plant at 7 years of age. And her plant looks like a teardrop body with branches that grow out from it in a spiral formation. And the spiral, it has about a good 15 layers. So it's a pretty tall plant. Well, not pretty tall, but pretty short plant, because the coil of the spiral of the vine, the branch, goes up and sits on itself, going all the way up until it's done growing. And then it sprouts out, other branches with leaves, and the leaves are crimson colored. So when she shoots her, energy rays are always red. Even though her superpower is vegetation based and her hair is bleach blonde and her eyes are green. Her origin plant, it glows, all the time throughout the day, throughout night and whatnot. So that's why her ray energy is red. And I be making up all kind of stuff like that. I love making up these characters, because Gamble and his culinary powers. I need to have a whole episode based on culinary as a superpower by itself, because a lot of people have not done it. They don't consider food to be a superpower, even though you see it in a lot of situations or whatnot. I don't think anybody has explained it in the way that I do. Culinary as a superpower is one of the most overpowered superpowers, because it's a non-elemental one, and you can pretty much make a dish that can turn you into a god, a dish that can give you the power to speed through things like the Flash, and you just move anywhere around at any time, or you can teleport. You can become highly powerful regardless of probability, like somebody who like to do things with, how can I say that? Somebody like the Rage, who can like punch a spaceship in two spots and pretty much dismantle the entire spaceship, or bend the spaceship in half, do some very fake stuff, lift the whole building up off of its foundation and toss it. Even skyscrapers. It depends on how powerful you want to be and what you do with your mental spell grid, and how you use the power that you gain to increase what you have and things like that. It's all about development. But anyway, the Order of Justice, all good guys, all lovely people, and they party extremely well. And you'll see it whenever the Crimson Collective comes out. Until the next time, keep it peaceful. Mwah.